end up like that, and should be a great atmosphere here over the 2 days. And of course, a former Tottenham star, front and centre. Hardly unusual that Gareth Bale's photo dominated the front pages in Spain this morning. More noteworthy that he is expected to lead the line for Real Madrid here against his former club. With the BBC not in full operation. Bale in, but no Karim Benzema nor Cristiano Ronaldo today. Both nursing minor injuries, we are told.
Ja, liebe Fußballfans, liebe Audi-Fans, liebe Audi-Mitarbeiter.
Our sponsor has the microphone. We've already heard from Franz Beckenbauer here. He needs no introduction at any time, of course. A rapt audience as he spoke to the Bayern public.
Neben dem FC Bayern ganz klar Real Madrid, seit langem sehr verbunden mit Audi. AC Milan, seit vielen, vielen Jahren sehr eng verbunden mit Audi. Und natürlich Tottenham Hotspur. Und ich wünsche Ihnen heute einen traumhaften Event, 2 tolle Fußballtage und damit eröffnen wir den Audi Cup 2015. Seien Sie uns willkommen.
Well, they put up the money, so they're entitled to have their say on the pitch. In a multi-million dollar, multi-million euro, multi-million pound industry these days. And fantastic, as you alluded to, Gary, that Tottenham Hotspur can test themselves against Real Madrid's mighty lineup today. Certainly the younger players will relish that opportunity. Sergio Ramos is still a Real Madrid player. And confirmation of the starting lineups. Gareth Bale reportedly himself the subject of 2 world record bids, £100 million plus from Manchester United, but we expect him to perhaps lead the line today. We shall find out shortly. Luka Modric also featuring against his former club. The newcomers Casillas in goal and Danilo starting for the new man in charge, Rafa Benitez. Gunter Pell from Germany taking charge. No Iker Casillas anymore, of course, for Real Madrid. And Hugo Lloris only just getting back into training for Tottenham Hotspur.
So your home team, you decide.
So Michael Vorm is most certainly #1 at this point for Tottenham.
Stay here, kick off. Good luck. Thank you. Good luck. Good luck.
Danny Rose apparently linked with a move to Chelsea, included by Pochettino in the Spurs starting lineup this afternoon. And the centre-backs are the men he has spent his money on, and both feature here, Alderweireld and Kevin Wimmer, a young man with precious little top-flight Bundesliga experience, now thrust into the Premier League spotlight. Young Dele Alli, the teenager signed from MK Dons, also featuring today, we think, alongside Eric Dyer in a very new-look combination in the midfield for Tottenham Hotspur. Substitutes are plenty on both sides, of course. Been pretty exciting from Real Madrid's point of view for Benitez in pre-season. They beat Roma in Australia, in Melbourne, on penalties, then ran through Manchester City 4-1 a couple of days later. 3-0 against Inter when they moved on to China on this global tour of theirs. And they won 10-9 on penalties in Shanghai against Milan. We may need penalties here. That will be the first alternative route if it does end all square after 90 minutes. Tottenham get us underway in their change strip against the most famous all-white kit in the world. I think Tottenham fans won't mind me saying that. Tottenham on the brink of the elite under Redknapp 3 or 4 years ago. And now Pochettino's task in the season ahead is to get them back into that top 4 and work from there. They've not been spending large amounts of cash in the transfer market. Alderweireld and Wimmer, some 23 million euro between them for the pair of centre-backs. And Kieran Trippier, who's on the bench today, 5 million from Burnley. More outs than ins at Spurs.
obviously the priority for Tottenham was strengthening that defence, because as much as they were a threat going forward defensively, they're one of the poorest records in the Premier League last year. So you can obviously see straight away those signings will have to come in and try and improve that statistic.
Turned away by Marcello, with a new goalkeeper behind him, of course, this season, Kiko Casilla. How extraordinary that they've replaced Casillas the Great with Casilla.
Amazing. And that's probably a problem for Real Madrid again. They need to improve their defensive thing, because obviously last year goals are plenty of like Ronaldo, but if you're to beat Real Madrid, you knew that the Achilles heel was always their defensive problems, and new right-back's been brought in, Danilo. You obviously heard a lot about whether or not the goalkeeping situation is going to be strengthened. And if you're talking about bringing someone like De Gea in, we know how valuable he is to a team, and that could be the difference. The difference in making up where they failed last year, those fine margins.
Got room to work with here, Walker. And Spurs really should have been in front inside, what, 2 minutes here. Lamela never balanced when he comes onto this, Gary, was he?
Incredible, what a chance. We're talking about Real Madrid's frailties at the back, and yet they haven't conceded a goal all pre-season other than a penalty, and what an opportunity that was for Lamela. Now this is a guy who was a 1-in-2 ratio when he was bought from Roma for all that money, and unfortunately since he's been at Tottenham over the 2 seasons, he's a 1-in-10, so that has to improve if Tottenham are going to have a better season this year.
Not only was it only 2 league goals for Lamela, but much more required in terms of his impact all around the game, week to week, for sure, for Tottenham.
He's obviously a fantastic talent, but it takes time going into the Premier League, but he's had that bedded in now, and we also expect a really strong season. I'm sure that the Tottenham faithful will be also.
Isco it was who made tracks down the middle then, and Bale arrived off the front. There was some speculation that Bale would be asked by Benitez to play down the middle up front. You're shaking your head, you didn't believe it today, did you?
No, because all through pre-season Bale was played at 10, and it's not someone you associate with a 10 being able to be a playmaker from there, but the man on the ball there, Real Madrid will play make from that deep position with Modric and Cruz. Wonderful passes of the ball. Real Madrid will be up the pitch and they'll be within a pass of the opposition's goal. So Bale's been playing that central area to use his power and pace to attack any spaces that are created by the movement of Ronaldo, Benzema. But on today's game, obviously Hesse up front today will be playing that lead role.
Modric to Toni Kroos, back on very familiar turf, of course, the former Bayern midfield star. Kept in by Bale on that far side. Danny Rose. Laid off by Kane. And worked out eventually to Walker. Didn't want to go forward again then, second time, even though he had so much room in that early thrust through Tottenham.
They like to get control of the ball under Pochettino. You'll see the 2 centre-backs spread really wide, and Dyer obviously predominantly a centre-back playing that holding role today. He'll give that extra security there and maybe play from there. But it'd be interesting to see his midfield partner Dele Alli today. We're talking about a guy who's playing League One football last year. Now he's up against the might of Real Madrid.
Ramos, so important they cannot let him go, apparently. According to Perez, in fact, the president of Real Madrid said, if I let you go, they'll have me out in a week.
Well, this is a guy who's going to be the captain now. It seems so strange, all that talk about going to Manchester United. We've seen all this stuff before, all this type of talk about moving on to try and get a better contract. But if you want to be winning Champions League titles and getting back your domestic league title, you don't let someone like him go.
A little bit late from Eric Dyer into the back of Isco. Fascinated today to see how Dyer does bed in this midfield role, actually, Gary.
I think obviously the 2 guys from last year, Mason will probably...
Oh, what a hit on the crossbar. And more worrying again, Vaughan got nowhere near it.
What a strike from Hesse. This is a guy who has a real big future. Obviously, a cruciate injury curtailed it a bit, but look at the pace, just running on the shoulder there. And this is the problem that Tottenham had last year, that people were getting in behind their fullbacks all the time.
Could be 1-1 inside 5 minutes today.
Incredible. We know they're both goal-scoring teams, but defensively there is a weakness, and we've seen it so early on again today.
Modric. Marcelo. Out from Cruz again. What are Tottenham looking to try to do in this game, in your opinion, tactically, Gary?
I think with Pochettino, he likes his fullbacks to get in advanced areas, keep the pitch really wide. Dyer will obviously be in there to look after the ball, which he hasn't done particularly well to start.
And we've seen already what they can produce on the counter. They're going to go in front. Oh, that's a much better stop by Vorm. Got fingernails to that. It was certainly going in. And Tottenham survived this time just. And he needed to make that save after what had happened a couple of minutes before.
That's a wonderful save then. It looked like it was going to be nestling in the bottom corner. But this is the problem. Because they're so expansive, Tottenham, if you have a central midfielder, you have to look after the ball. And if Dyer gives it away on occasions like that, they will be punished by a team with this quality.
For a side still, what, 10 days before their league programme gets underway, Real Madrid look mighty sharp here. Done a lot of travelling, but, you know, they have been playing quite intense games. Maybe Tottenham can hit them on the counter again as they did early on. Kane was making tracks, never reached it.
You say what would be a feature of Tottenham's play? It would certainly be the fullbacks getting advanced areas, and we've seen Danny Rose there again, who had a wonderful season last year for Tottenham. Obviously, the big signing was Ben Davies at left-back, but he saw off that challenge to nail that left-back position. And that is what they'll have to do, but unfortunately that's the problem, is when they get in advanced areas, if the boys in central midfield lose that ball, they won't be able to recover, and they are so vulnerable then.
Eriksen's corner. That's an easy one from Casilla to come and have a punch at, under no pressure. Didn't fancy catching it, he might have done so, I suppose. Keylor Navas, incidentally, on the bench today for Real Madrid. On by Dembele for Tottenham. Dyer finds Rose this time. Alderweireld. Up backward by Wimmer. And of course Vorm does know how quick over the ground Bale can be. Doesn't want to take too many liberties.
He's one goalkeeper can look after the ball, though, to be fair to Vorm. He's very comfortable, very much a modern-day goalkeeper.
Dembele looking a little bit stop-start in the middle of the park here early on for Tottenham.
Yeah, he normally played in the MLS game recently for Tottenham. He played on the right side.
And again, it's given away in that area, this time by Lamela, way too carelessly.
This just shows the quality now, the pace that Real Madrid have got on the counter-attack. And Benitez has said a lot about Bale, that he loves to attack space, and you wouldn't normally associate that for the 10 role, but if Benzema's moving the centre-backs around and suddenly Bale is running up against a holding midfielder, there's no one in the world who's going to stay with his power and pace.
Way too much for Walker to do with that one. It was awfully easy for Marcelo, but he did keep it in play. Turned back by Varane. It is Danilo at right back today for Real Madrid, with Varane and Ramos paired in the middle by Benitez. Cruz now looking for him, Danilo. Signed amid some fanfare from Porto. I think you are an admirer, Gary.
I like him, I know there's power and pace, but if you're trying to look at Real Madrid and why they didn't achieve what they wanted to last year, was it necessarily a right back that was the problem? I'm not convinced. I like Carvajal, I like him playing in there. I've seen Danilo play, obviously a great athlete. It'd be interesting to see Jose coach with the pressure playing for such a big club like Real Madrid. But if I had to identify one key position for Real Madrid, the goalkeeping one is key for me. That would make the big difference. It could be the difference between being runners-up or being champions.
Following the departure of one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, I mean, he's a magnificent server. He broke my heart, of course, in 2002 in the World Cup, his penalty saves, but been a lot of talk about how he was treated at Real Madrid. Didn't quite get the fanfare that he wanted to when he departs, but when you leave a club, it never ends particularly well, otherwise it wouldn't.
Still moved to tears, wasn't he, when he made his address to the support, notably to the support, and to the people working behind the scenes at the club, the people who give their lives to a football club like Real Madrid.
Of course. I mean, he was an iconic figure, but even those who loved him, admired him for so long, were doubting his ability, his capability at that level anymore.
The timing. Tottenham looking to get into a little bit of a flow. Ali did well. Eriksen. Always so hard to gauge where they are physically, of course, in the days before the league campaign gets underway. Any early impressions, Gary?
Well, for Tottenham, it was quite strange their pre-season because they didn't play particularly that many games. I think normally you're looking to play between 5 to 7 games and guys will build their fitness up, but Tottenham have played very few. I think the manager, Pochettino, took the opportunity to do a lot of training, bed in the new young guys like Ali, as we've seen here, and it'd be interesting to see just how well they cope, because this is a guy who has got the physique, the athleticism to certainly cope in the Premier League, and it'd be interesting to see just whether or not he's got the mindset and the desire to make sure that it happens.
It'll be interesting to learn in the coming months whether there are people at Tottenham who believe he could become the next Gareth Bale. Benitez gets involved on the touchline for the first time.
I think to compare him with Bale would be, you know, obviously great young talents when they first come in.
But that's the problem when they come in, you know, because of what's happened with a player like
that. No, of course, but I think even Gareth Bale didn't set the world alight when he first came into Tottenham, really struggled to the point that he was potentially going to be sold and moved on, but got his opportunity through injuries, and boy did he take it. Look at the player he's now. So I think that's important for all Tottenham young players now. There's an opportunity under this manager. The likes of Mason effectively has come from nowhere really to cement his place not only in Tottenham's midfield but even get into international squads. So all these young players, they have a wonderful opportunity under this manager.
Bentaleb is on the bench today, you might say the same about him.
Yeah, he was brilliant alongside Mason in the central midfield for Tottenham. And I think these young guys had to come through because there was a lot of players on a lot of money who Pochettino didn't want. But if you discard them, bearing in mind the financial money they've costing you, you can't just leave them there. You have to replace them, and he has. Suddenly the likes of Kane have come from nowhere, really, to become a marquee player for their club. Mason as well. So that buys him a bit of time, not only with supporters, but certainly with the chairman.
And farewells, just in case you've been away, not been able to follow all the ins and outs, farewells for Asua Koto. That was well flagged, wasn't it, toward the end of last season. Paulinho, Holtby, Capu, Kabul, Stambouli, oh, well hit. Garcia got down to it sharply.
Yeah, those guys have been moved on, and more often than not, they were centre-backs who had their chances, but just were not producing what Pochettino wanted.
And one more to add to the list, of course, Kiriches, who's gone to Napoli. So it's a thinner squad. Echoing your point, there's room for the youngsters to develop now. Not that Pochettino would say there weren't my players in the first place.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about these. The majority of them guys were the guys who were bought with the Bale money. And how many of them would you say has been a success? I'd say arguably the best one has been Eriksen, but not many after that.
Here is the aforementioned Dane, Eriksen. Alderweireld. Trademark turn by Dembele. Lamela again beaten to it. I think we're going to come back for the little pull back on Dembele, actually.
You wonder if he can become more of a key player this season, Dembele. Obviously, I know we talked about the guys being brilliant in central midfield, but these guys are real talent, and we saw it there. You can just beat people at ease.
Very nearly Mitchell Vaughan beaten inside the first 5 minutes today. No way through for Rose. Stopped forcibly by Danilo. A reminder, this is the first of 2 games this evening and the first day of the Audi Cup, with Bayern